So the protocol that we're going to be using builds off of a couple of important theories that have to do with memory. So it's not necessarily important that you know everything about this, but I do want to explain one facet that I think will help understand the perspective that this is going to take. Our brain, if you were to ask people about their memory, they would say they are very good at remembering the stories of their life, whether it be something that happened to them when they were young or what they had for breakfast this morning. That they can give that narrative very well. And the same people tend to say they're very bad at remembering facts. Like the big fear of a test is that we'll have names and dates because we people tend to think they're very bad at facts. But it turns out that when we actually study people, that they're very good at remembering facts once those facts have been placed into long-term memory. By the way, I feel like I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be looking at. I don't do a lot of video stuff, so I apologize if that seems I am a little uncomfortable with this. But back to memory. The problem comes in the way that memories are stored and the way they're retrieved. So if I was to ask you to tell me a story about, say, your wedding day or anything that you'd experienced, you would tell me a story that was effectively almost like a movie. We remember it in like a scene. And so that is three dimensions. But the way that our brain stores memory is two dimensions, more like a photograph. But when people are telling us about what they did, or we tell a story about something we did, we don't describe it in terms of a photograph. So if you can picture this photograph, and again, of course these are neurons and it's more complicated than this, but if you can picture this photograph that our brain then translates from a two-dimensional image into a three-dimensional image, then what's left is there are these gaps because, of course, if you try to take something that's two dimensions and move it to three, it's not going to be perfect. And so our brain doesn't like gaps. So it fills in the parts of the memory that have holes. The problem is that we are not able to tell the difference between the parts of the memory that are real and the parts of the memory that are what our brain filled in. And so, knowing that, one of the things we can be certain about is that almost none of the experiences that we remember happened exactly the way we remember it. This is called source amnesia. And it doesn't mean that the event didn't happen. So if you have a memory of sitting with your grandfather before he died, and this is the most important memory of your life, you did sit, almost certainly you did sit with your grandfather and things were said. It's just those details that might be off. Well, knowing that, some researchers have started to work with trying to manipulate memory to see if they could impact post-traumatic stress disorder. What I did is I took that research, and what I've done is taken that research and put together a series of steps that are specifically designed for people in relationships. So what you would be doing, what you'd be committing to do, is the initial step would be you telling me in as much detail as you possibly can this thing that happened. Now, again, for this purposes, because of the type of study I'm wanting to do and we would be talking about a negative experience within a relationship that you're in. I mean, I think for this group we would think about our marriage, but if you have a particularly bad experience from a previous relationship, that's irrelevant to me. You can type it all out, but I think that for most people it would be much easier to record a video. And so you would record a video describing, again, in as much detail as you possibly can. You literally cannot over detail these memories, this bad thing. Then you would fill out a rating sheet about just some like, how does this make you feel, and other questions like that. And your answers would be from 1 to I'll probably do 1 to 10, but it could be, I might do 1 to 100. I gotta submit that and make a decision. But with 10 being extremely severe and 1 being not at all. So a question might be, does this memory elicit negative emotions? Rank it 1 to 10. Again, it'll be worded better than what I just said. And then you'll rank them. And then once that's done, then I will give you an exercise to do regarding the memory, regarding this story. And your commitment is to do the exercise and just keep track of how often you did it. And then the next week, you would fill out the exact same survey about how this memory makes you feel, and submit with that a short video talking about if you experienced any change. And so we would do this. I have 5 steps, and each week we would get another one. So the results we'd be hoping for would be that these steps would allow the negative, painful emotions that are attached to whatever experience you're talking about to be significantly reduced. There's a lot of good evidence to show that this is what we can expect. And as you can tell, we don't have to fib about it. You can know that you're lying, So if I have a memory of my wife not picking me up when she was supposed to, which never did, that is not a true experience. But if I remember that, and it was very upsetting and very painful, I know as I'm doing these exercises that I'm going to be fabricating parts of the experience. And then again, still seeing if it's impacting the emotionality. So that's it. My experience with it so far has been positive. The challenge has been that I never really did anything systematically. I mean, if I had been thinking ahead, I would have had every person doing the same step at the same pace, and I could have had this published a long time ago, or refuted a long time ago. I do not believe there's anything else I think I need to tell you, but feel free to ask me any questions. Obviously, there's no, I'm not going to compensate you, and so there's no actual commitment. But I think that based on my own experience, it seemed like it was very helpful. but I can't say in a scientific way that I know it's helpful because it has not been standardized, and that's what we're going to be doing here. So this round is uh, a oh shoot, the term is escaping me. Before you actually go to a grand jury, that was awful. But when you go to a grand jury, it's only the prosecution, and there's nothing goes against the prosecution, and you just see if there's enough evidence that you can take it to trial. That's what we're doing here. There's not going to be a control group. There's not going to be anybody who's not doing it or doing some other exercise like there would be in an actual experiment. We're simply going to be seeing if there's a reason to go forward with an actual experiment. In the meantime, I think it could be very positive for the couples who participate in it. And again, we'll be working as individuals, but each individual could be in a couple could be doing it, or simply one person could do it by themselves. That's irrelevant. Okay. So I think that's everything I want to say. And if you have any questions, then you should feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.